Today on Collection Review, a man caught between the Rolex fever and a quest for a deeper horological meaning. Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. Alright, today's very fine collection comes to us from the east northern UK. We're gonna call him Mr. Jack. He wants to keep his anonymity. In his mid-50s, an accountant in his mid-50s. He's loved watches for 20 years and really fell down the rabbit hole recently. But everything started actually quite interestingly with a very well-regarded, robust and accurate IWC caliber 89 in a rose gold presentation given to him by his father-in-law. It had an unfortunate encounter with a dog and needed a full overhaul. I would have advised you to get a couple of quotes from Independence, but that was done by IWC at a high cost. But anyway, the bug had bit, and researching more IWC, our friend Mr. Jack got the Chrono Flieger. Nothing wrong with that, great classic. And the IWC 852, so that's the automatic caliber from the early 50s. So the caliber 89 came in the late 40s. It was to be put in Flieger watches, and then it was put into the more Calatrava style. And the 852 as well. Both, I think, have the famous Peloton winding system from Mr. Peloton, who was working at IWC, used to this day in one form or another. Very well laid out, robust, quality calibers. If you keep good care of them, you can still use them to this day. And Mr. Jack went a bit further with this idea, this introduction to quality watches, finding the steel version of a caliber 89 from eBay. The previous owner had a sapphire case back fitted, so you can see the movement. It is fairly well decorated. A quality way to start. Also in the B box, as I'm gonna call it, because the A box has the heavy modern hitters, but the B box has the maybe more interesting stuff that gives a nice balance to this collection. I think Mr. Jack is a bit worried to not have enough individuality, that his Rolex watches might be too mainstream, and it's something that many people might feel, but this other watch box has those interesting IWC calibers and the bit more fun watches as well, including the Omega Seamaster 125, a small Omega that he wore for 15 years. Pretty cool, you know. I think when I was younger, I was probably wearing Seikos at best. Often it was diesels and fossil watches, but I love them, so it doesn't matter. Interesting Omega Seamaster 125. We don't see them too often. Also there we have a modded turtle with a green ceramic bezel insert. Everybody has to have Seiko fun. There's another diver there. There's a Hamilton as well. And the Tudor GMT, but of course we'll see the next box. He's got the real thing, as we could say. And also, of course, he's got, like everybody, a couple of G-Shocks, including the expensive camouflage ones. Who would know? I hope your wife doesn't realize how expensive that camouflage one is. Well, now she will know if she watches this with you. But then, you got very lucky with your Rolex AD, and you get to purchase a few watches at retail. Before we get into that, a couple of nice Omega. You got a 94 Speedy with a tritium, great vintage feel. You say you'd love the 321 as well, so the Ed White, very different watch, you know. It's the pre-moon case. It wears different, so do try it on at the Omega boutique if you can before obsessing about it. You can also find the 321 actually in other watches, probably. I think there's a platinum moon watch that has it. But anyway, the 321, great caliber, only made in low volume because it's only made by one atelier there at Omega. But I don't really like the way it wears so much. So you can try the new 57 or the first Omega in space. It's a bit the same kind of feel. But I really like your Speedy. I prefer the Moonwatch type of vibe. And then you have like anyone, I think, in their mid 50s, a Seamaster. But you get the new one, the blue from 2020 Seamaster 300. Classic, very cool, nice little sub Omega collection in your collection. Now let's move on to the Rolex. Just like another collection I had seen, and a couple of other guys I've seen online, you're one of the chosen ones in the UK. It seems like some 80s in the UK just want to give one customer everything they want, even things they don't want, and pretend to the other ones that there's nothing available. Lucky for you, too bad for the others. So first, just like me, late 2018, you get the Explorer in the shop window. It's the last time I saw one. Back in 2017, it was in every window, along with the Air King and maybe some other ones like the Milgauss. But yeah, fantastic 214270 reference, 39 millimeter discontinued. It will be super collectible because it wasn't produced for that long, and I really love the size. For me, it's the perfect watch. You got it, keep it, cherish it. Then 2021 Explorer 2 black dial, love it. I prefer the black in the larger version there than the white, but both are cool. GMT wears very flat, so it's bigger, but it's very flat. Interesting in the collection. I like it. Then you get the no date sub in 2021, super classic, love it. And finally, the one everybody wants, the GMT 2022. So I'm a bit distracted by the crazy rain of the typhoon again, right outside my window. We keep getting battered by typhoons lately. Yeah, the Pepsi, the real deal. So yeah, you would be forgiven if you were selling the Tudor Black Bay GMT, but the Tudor has its own feel, you know. I miss it. I sold it because I didn't want to keep too many watches. So it's up to you, but it has its own feel. It's very addictive in a way, that mass, and it's a great look as well. It's different from the Rolex. It has also more water resistance, and you can actually travel with it, which you wouldn't do with the Rolex. But yeah, the GMT Pepsi, love it. Very good. You said should have gone vintage. You go vintage or neo vintage like I did, 16760, the fat lady, or the 16710 or 16750, 1675. As crazy as you want to go. If you can't get the modern one, you get the modern one. It's great. Just stick with it, man. Be happy, be lucky, count your blessings. You're the chosen one. And then finally, another mega collectible. You get what looks like a 36 millimeter Tiffany dial for your daughter's 21st. Turns out she's in university, doesn't like watches too much, and she doesn't really want the watch. And you're thinking, oh, should I trade it along with the Explorer 2 for the Hulk? No, the Hulk was made for 10 years. You're wondering if you haven't gone to mainstream. That's the most mainstream thing you could do. The Hulk, many people didn't like it. The dial doesn't match the color of the bezel. And okay, it's very cool. I think prices are coming down now below the 20,000 US. Maybe if it comes down to 15, if you really, really love it, but do check it out first. Yeah, add it, but don't trade the Tiffany, especially not the Tiffany. Only made for 1 year in this cool color, a memento of this year where people went crazy for that color because of the Patek 5711 real Tiffany. This is just a turquoise. It's not actually a Tiffany, but only made 1 year. Keep it in 10, 20 years. Your daughter will love it. And if not, you will love the return it gives you. This is your most collectible watch, perhaps. Don't touch it. And I wouldn't even trade the Explorer 2 for the Hulk. I prefer the Explorer 2. But yeah, if you have to have the mainstream thing, the thing that you say you don't want, well, yeah, go crazy. Spend 20 grand on the Hulk and trade out the Explorer 2, but don't touch that Tiffany from the collection. Cherish it. Be lucky you have it. Put it in a safe if you don't want to see it every day. But do not start doing silly things, not that you've done great things I like the collection. I like what you have. You have a good assortment of and a good and interesting assortment of the different complications. I like the Flieger next to the Speedy. That's great. I like the Seamaster next to the Submariner. I like the GMT next to the Explorer 2 and the Explorer. And your introduction to the hobby with the IWC interesting calibers was great. So you have also dress watches. Now, our man here is asking himself many questions. Should I go longer? He shares a picture of a Patek window from 3 years ago where you could see the Nautilus, my God, the 5712, my little grail there. And so he's wondering if he's not gone too mainstream. Is Rolex just a young man's game? Well, you've beaten the young man. And I don't think you have too many. To put things in perspective, some people have one watch, maybe one vintage Rolex or an FP Journe that's worth more than your whole collection. So as long as it is not a financial burden, don't worry about it. Now, is this part of your pension plan, this collection? Look, it's only part of it if you're going to sell it one day. I think it's always good to have Rolex. It's great value. It's a solid way to. It is an asset in the sense that it's not wasted money, right? Just like a house, your wife is a bit sad looking at your collection, thinking you could have spent the money on renovating part of the house. But we need our watches, especially these days. The economy is gonna go really bad. China is in a rut. We've just gone through 2 tough years with the COVID. Watches is a great escape. It's a great daily enjoyment that you can have on the wrist. And she's sharing the hobby in a way with you. As you say, she has a Cartier Tank Française, a Longines as well. Keep her. Maybe she could wear the Tiffany dial, but be careful where you wear those things. In the UK, I know you're far from the hustle of London, but still be careful putting that on the wrist of someone at the moment. Or on your own wrist as well. So yeah, is it an investment? Yeah, yes and no. Now, thinking about how we can enhance this collection, you love. It started with a beautiful, interesting caliber. You talk about longer. You talk about not being too mainstream. Well, now that the market is coming off quite a bit, I think we're going to see a lot of dress watches from Patek coming back at much better prices. Patek has had interesting watches lately, the 5320 that have a bit of a mix of vintage and modern. There's a lot of interesting stuff that's going to come back. Don't go too crazy with the calendars, the perpetual, the annuals. They're really annoying to reset, so you basically have to keep them wound all the time. If it's a manual wind, it's even sillier because you have to wind them all the time. Otherwise, what is perpetual about manual wind grand complication Patek? If you don't wind it, then you have to reset the whole thing. It's a lot more work in the end. And they're also very difficult to read. Even some of the longer, I had the 1815 calendar, beautiful watch, but you can barely read the date and the day as well, the most useful part of the whole complication. So I wouldn't go too complicated, but a beautiful chronograph, if you can stretch to that, then that would be that would put in perspective everything else that's more mainstream in the collection. It would tie in with the IWC calibers that you have and your love for it, and it would really enhance the whole thing. So if you can stretch to an 1815 chronograph or Patek 5172, the Patek simple, well, not simple, but the Patek chronograph, That would be great because it's wind and wear. You don't have to set even the date, or pick up a Calatrava, or a longer Saxonia, maybe with the moon phase, maybe with a big date. All of these watches are fantastic to look at with a beautiful case back, and I think that is what you're looking for at this point. Now you say you're on the list for the Daytona, the root beer. Yeah, if you can get them. Hey, if you can get the root beer, I don't want it. I will take it from you. I will pay you a little extra. That's the next one that I would love to add to my collection, because I really like rose gold. Daytona, I think if you can get it, of course, it's cool. Be careful, with the two tones, because I see the market for the two tone coming back down really quickly. But they're cool. They're very nice. If you can get the steel, of course, get those. Although I will say I find the Daytona look aging a bit at this point, and I would not be surprised if it was revamped by Rolex. I think the steels with the ceramic bezel still look fresh, but the two tones, especially with the gold, the champagne dial, are starting to look very aged, very old. So maybe it's time for them to be revamped. The anniversary of the Daytona is coming soon. And you're also on the list for the Snoopy. I'm not a big fan. I think it's too gimmicky. Yeah, if you can get it, if you love it, sure. I would rather you have then, that's also a great solution. If you can get the Edwide, the 321 caliber, then you bypass everything I've just said. You get a very nice, classic, beautiful caliber in a watch that you can use every day. If you don't want to stretch to the Patek the longer, then I would rather you insist at the Omega boutique to get the Ed White, and that would be maybe your getaway watch, the one that also brings balance to the force of this collection. So, guys, let me know what you think in the comments about this great collection. Thank you, Jack, for sharing it with us. I really love it. I think everything is great. Nothing to throw away in here. Get a great caliber to look at, whether it's a 321, a longer, or a Patek. I think you can't go wrong. Hey, if you can get an FP Jaune, go for it. Thank you for sharing. Guys, thank you for watching, and I will speak to you in the next one. Bye-bye.